Hello, world. Welcome to the very first episode of Progress with Parker Duque and Friends. I'm Parker Duque. I'll bring some friends in later, none of them famous, all of them entertaining, but for right now, it's just going to be me. Me and you. It's April 2026, little chilly here in Atlanta. Very excited to get this thing going. We'll get all the boring introduction stuff out of the way in this episode. For instance, I'm a writer. Chances are, since you're here, you've already read my book, or if you're feeling fancy, my novel, Progress, a sophomoric case for optimism. If you haven't and you read books and you like funny books that move quick with feel-good endings, what are you waiting for? You should read Progress. You should read all the 5-star reviews on Amazon. Some of them are from strangers. Full disclosure, most of them are from my biased friends. Why? Because I'm a lucky guy. It's available on Amazon or wherever you buy your books. If you don't read books, do not sweat it. I have a solution. Interestingly enough, I don't read books anymore either, but I have read Progress and I recorded it for you. All 54 chapters. I released it as a free podcast a while back. It's essentially an audiobook, but in a podcast format. Each chapter is a new episode. So if you scroll down and start on episode 1, it should roll the whole way through. Almost nobody knows about it or this podcast because I'm a terrible promoter. So if you enjoyed it, please feel free to tell your friends. Or better yet, send them a link. Now, before you go and give me too much credit for recording it, ask me if I did a good job. Not especially. I had no idea how hard it was to record an audiobook. You would think it's just reading. It's not. What you don't think about when you decide to record an audiobook is that you have to do voices, including female voices, which I'm terrible at. And I do the same terrible voice for every single female character in the book. And every old guy sounds like this. Like I said, did I do a great job? Probably not. But it's free. And I'm told it's very entertaining. And despite the lack of promotion and quality, it's kind of taken off. It's a little bit. It's got like 2,600 downloads so far. Look at this. This is the last 6 months. I can track how many times it's been downloaded, the location of the download, even the time it was downloaded. Very cool, very surprising. Honestly, it's kind of nuts. As you can see by the map, it's all over the world. I mean, I've got 4 downloads in Slovenia. I don't even know where Slovenia is. How many downloads does it take to be a big deal in Slovenia? It's actually over 2,700 downloads. I just checked it. A ton in America, a bunch in Singapore, Brazil, Peru, Russia. Duh! Who'da thunk? And all those episodes are just waiting for you and your friends there, wherever you get your podcasts. I think it works well on Spotify. This podcast is also available as a video podcast on YouTube. In fact, it's on the Parker Duque YouTube channel, which sounds like a big deal, but it turns out anybody can get a channel on YouTube. You just have to name it. Doesn't matter. I still have my own channel. Do you? Very exciting. I've used YouTube forever. The how-to videos, just changing the brakes on my truck myself has saved me like $4 billion. I watched the video on a whim and I was like, I can do that. I used to want to figure stuff out on my own. It was kind of a pride thing. Pride is no longer an issue. That was a long time ago. I have zero desire to figure anything out from scratch anymore, and I'm certainly not too proud to take instruction from somebody who's already figured it out, probably way better than me. Just tell me what I need and how to do it. I'm in. That's why this is available as a video podcast. All the how-to videos on podcast say you'd be crazy not to record it on video, because then you've got twice the content for the same amount of work. Close enough. Not entirely true, but I get what they're saying. What they don't talk about, or warn you about for that matter, in any of these videos is how shocking it is to see yourself on video. I can't be the only one that's had this experience. Holy smokes, it has been a genuine eye-opener. I'm a Gen Xer. We didn't grow up taking selfies. This is foreign to me. If I took a selfie in my high school, I'd get punched in the face. If any of my high school friends were watching this, they were probably just like, yeah, by the end of the day, he'd get punched in the face. When Gen Xers came up, narcissism was still something to be embarrassed about. It's a completely different game now. And let me tell you something. You may think you know what you look like, but you don't know what you look like, what you actually look like, until you see yourself on video. It can be unnerving. And in my case, a little bit disappointing. It's embarrassing to admit, but I thought I was a little bit better looking than this. At least in my head I was. Now that I've seen myself on video, I've taken myself down a notch, maybe 2 notches, which I'm sure was past due and probably a good thing for everybody concerned, but it's still a little bit embarrassing and disappointing. Educational for sure. I've never seen my eyelids until this. I don't know how to do that. I had no idea about the weird colored skin or what I looked like with my eyes closed. Gross. I ordered some whitening gel for the spooky tooth thing I got going on. I'm not saying I'm so humble. I never look at myself in the mirror. I look in the mirror plenty. When I'm getting ready in the morning, I just think maybe I must be doing like a blue steel pose or something, because I had zero clue about the spooky tooth. And honestly, I think there's more at work here than meets the eye. I think maybe my ego has been preventing me from looking, too deep into my reflection, because I definitely lost track of how big my nose is. Video will fix that quick. There's no ignoring anything. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I look bad. I'm not fishing for compliments. I know I'm presentable. Just this video stuff has made me realize I'm not as presentable as I thought. And listen, don't worry about me. I am not discouraged. It would take a lot more than that. I'm married. I don't care. My wife is the only person I'm trying to impress. I'm still trying to impress her, and she loves me and my big nose, so I'm good. The how-to videos also glossed over how complicated the technical setup is here, the sound, the video, the lighting. That took me a minute to figure out and make it all work together, but I think I've got my arms around it now, and it was so worth it. Now with the video, it's basically like I have my own TV show. I have my own TV show. Are you kidding me? So I'm feeling a little bit drunk with power right now. Is it perfect? No, of course not. Will it do? It's gonna have to. Plus, it'll get better. You know what you can't stop? Progress. The good news is I have a great attitude and low expectations, so I think we're going to be all right. They also said you needed to have a theme for your podcast. Bummer. I don't know what to say about that. I'm not sure this podcast is serious enough to have a theme. It's actually the opposite. Cause man, I'm just doing this for shizzles and giggles. Cause that's what we need more of right now. Podcasts. Just kidding. Fun. We need more fun. I don't know about you, but things are so divided now. Where is all the fun going? Everything is so serious. It blows. And it's all because of politics. I've got a simple take. See if you don't agree with me. The vast majority of politicians blow. They suck at their job. You know how I know they suck at their jobs? Because if they were good at their jobs, we wouldn't have to talk about politics. Or if we did, it would just be to debate for fun. And it wouldn't suck the life out of the entire room and make everybody want to leave. That's why we're not going to talk about politics on my show. We're going to make every effort not to talk about politics on this show. I feel like the world is in a weird, dark place, and there's a lot of stuff to gripe about, and we could. But this is going to be a fun podcast. I have no interest in that. I haven't given up on fun or people. I never will. All is not lost. And despite news reports to the contrary, I believe people are still inherently good. And the fun, you just need to know where to look for it. And you are off to a good start because that's all I'm bringing. Okay, I want to, speaking of bringing fun, I want to start each episode with a That's Great story. A story that you hear and you say, that's great. Or at least I did when I heard it. They're not all going to hit, but I'm starting with this one because it kind of tracks what I was just talking about. Maybe this is my theme. There's an old guy walking on the beach, 2 sets of footprints. Totally kidding. It's not going to be that story. Old guy walking on the beach. After a while, he comes up to some weird kind of tide event, and there's just an unbelievable number of starfish that are washed up on the beach, and they're just kind of frying there in the sun. So it's not looking great for these starfish. However, there's a little kid at the water's edge, and he's picking up a couple starfish at a time, walking them down to the water, and then tossing them in. Then going back for more. So when this old guy walks up to this little kid, he's like, hey, little kid, it's a nice day. You're at the beach. I saw your friends back there. Why don't you go play with your friends? Don't waste your time trying to help these starfish. This is just how it goes. This is nature. Things like this happen. Even if you were out here all day, you could never get them all, and you'll never make a difference. The little kid didn't say anything. Instead, grabbed a couple more starfish, walked down to the edge of the water, tossed them in, and then on his way back up to grab some more, the little kid looked at the old man and he said, I made a difference to those 2. There you go. That's what I'm doing. All those starfish, that's our fun. Just washed up on the beach, baking in the sun. And I'm saving as many as I can, 1 episode at a time. There's your theme. I have been so lucky in life and have it so good that I have racked up a couple entertaining stories. Stories from Saugatuck, from Elgin, from Purdue, from raising a family in Atlanta. I am going to bring you into my world and into the world of my book, Progress, So let's just say, if it's entertaining or interesting or both, I'm going to put it in this podcast. You might even learn something here. I wouldn't count on that, but some of my stories are how I've learned life's lessons the hard way, meaning late, which is an unfortunate theme, I'm aware. If I listed all the big lessons I've learned so far in life, I don't think there's one where I could go, oh yeah, that one, I figured that one out early. Nope. You want to know what's not going to be in this podcast? Swearing. Not because I don't want to, because I do. And I feel like I'm pretty good at it. I'm not going to swear on this podcast out of protest. And what am I protesting, you might ask? Well, let me tell you. I feel like just about everyone is wrecking swearing right now. Swearing used to be a big deal. It was dangerous. It was taboo. There were consequences. You could get in trouble. Now, there's no danger. Now, swearing is a part of everyday life. It's not even a big deal. The swearing police, what's left of their department, barely beeps out the swear words now. You can tell what they're saying. I hear the F-bomb all the time. The F-bomb. When did the F-bomb lose its nuclear status? The F-bomb stopped traffic in my high school. It is the ultimate swear word. It's one of the most powerful words in the English language. It's an escalator. It escalates. When you drop an F-bomb, you're taking your statement up a level or 10. That's all lost now. The F-bomb, sadly, is ubiquitous, and that means everywhere. I'm sick about it. And yes, I'll admit, this beef is entirely selfish. I want people to quit swearing all the time so that I can keep swearing occasionally and still have it mean something. They've taken this from me, from us. I don't think people are trying to wreck it. I think they just haven't been taught to swear properly. And I blame the parents. I love assigning blame. My parents taught me how to swear. And I guess by teaching me how to swear, I don't mean the actual swearing. We all swear differently. I mean, they taught me it's a dangerous option, at least until you're an adult. End of story. My first memory of swearing was getting busted immediately. Brother, did I get busted. Because my dad did his job. That's how it's supposed to work. I forget, it's actually a funny story. I forget how old I was. We were in Florida, and I was watching TV with my older cousins, and I wanted to impress them with some cool swearing, let them know that I wasn't a little kid anymore. And I'd let out a pretty decent string of filth and had no idea the windows were open. The minute I finished, I heard a book close outside the window, some heavy footsteps, and within seconds, my giant dad was in the room. He didn't say a word. Oh, he was so hot. He had fire in his eyes. He lifted me completely off the ground. He was a big dude. My dad was a big dude. I remember he had his giant paw under one of my armpits and his book in the other. He didn't even need two hands. I was hanging like a Muppet doll. He literally didn't put me down until we got to my cousin's bedroom, where he let me know how disappointed he was in me, and that which is way worse than any spanking, and man, I bawled. Okay, wait. Quick side story, which will happen. Sorry about that. He told me to stay in that room and to think about what I'd done until I'd learned my lesson. And I spent the rest of the day in that bedroom. Initially, because I was afraid to come out and run into my dad, but primarily because 30 minutes into my isolation, I found my cousin's copy of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I read that book from cover to cover. My dad rarely swore. So when he did, it meant something. It meant he was pissed. His swear words were actually phrases, God damn it, and son of a bitch. So kind of like entry-level swearing. But he made up for it with passion. Believe me. You could gauge how upset Dad was by how far he got into those two phrases. So if Dad said, gut, you were still in the clear. Now if he said the whole shebang, God damn it, son of a bitch. Well, that meant the fun was over. And my brother and I would get the hell out of Dodge, quick. Mom's swearing, fantastic. It's entirely acronym-based jokes. She's 82 and she's a card. Right now, she's a little self-conscious about her memory. So when she's talking to somebody, she'll say, stop me if you've heard this story before. I have CRS. And then they'll ask, what is CRS? And then she'll say, can't remember shit. Her other one is when she talks to a golfer and she'll say, my biggest issue with my game is my loft. And then they'll ask her, what is your loft? And then she'll look them square in the eyes and say, my lack of fucking talent. That'll be the only swearing I do on this, I promise. She brings down the house every time. That's how you swear. Now, everybody swears. All the time. And to add insult to injury, they're doing it poorly. For instance, the F-bomb, as we discussed, it's an escalator. It's a stick of dynamite. Don't put a stick of dynamite in a sentence that doesn't even need a firecracker. Come on, people. Who am I kidding? People seem to be okay with this. That's what kills me. We're letting this great thing die right in front of us, and nobody cares. So I'm not going to swear on this podcast. I've probably gone on for too long about it. I'll stop. I figure it's a dead horse, and I don't want to help keep kicking it. This is just like the Eurostep. That's a great. People are wrecking swearing, just like the Eurostep has wrecked basketball. Everybody just stood aside and let the Eurostep ruin basketball. First the pros, then college, both wrecked. And if you don't know what the Eurostep is, most people call it traveling. You can now travel in basketball. Kind of got off the path there. This is where my wife would interrupt and say, do you hear what's coming out of your mouth right now? Or she'll say, how do you know when it's time for dinner at Freedom Village? Do they ring a bell? Freedom Village is a 55-plus retirement community in Holland, Michigan. What she's really saying in her clever way is that I've prematurely turned into an elderly man that gripes. Physically, I feel great. I feel young dare I say I feel young for my age? I've been very lucky in that regard, given my love for all things sugar. Mentally, that's what's up for debate right now, and my wife's killing me. And I'm listening to her. I'm trying to be honest with myself about this because I'm only 56. I don't want to be that guy. And if I'm that guy, I need to change. It's stressful. I caught myself last week saying kids these days. Yeah. I was griping about hairstyles and fashion, and I said kids these days. I was talking to a buddy. I'm 56. What am I doing saying kids these days? Is it a problem? Maybe. If she's right, it's a problem. I mean, look at me. I was just griping about people swearing. That kind of sounds like an old person gripe, doesn't it? My wife has very little patience for this. This being my senior complaining. She's younger than me. Not that much younger, but I will admit she's way, way cooler and still relatively hip, always has been. And honestly, I'd say without hesitation that her mental age trends much younger than her actual age. I'm just glad that she doesn't like rubbing this in my face when it comes up. I'm just kidding. She rubs it in my face plenty. We joke about that. And we joke now that she and I are kind of negotiating the addition of an older gentleman into our marriage, which sounds creepy, but it's not. It's not a real person. I've just simplified my supposed issue down into a cute imaginary little guy that lives inside of my brain. I call him the OG. Not the original gangster, but the opinionated geriatric. This little guy, without warning, can slip into the control room of my brain. He starts pulling levers, pressing buttons, and before you know it, I'm griping about swearing and saying stuff like kids these days. Again, is it a problem? The answer right now is I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty good at being honest with myself, and I'll talk about that in a second, but even I can't tell if it's a problem. I'm still in the discovery stage, but I'm leaning towards no. Know that it's not a problem. I recognize that I sound like an old man when I gripe, but what if my gripes are legit? What if I'm heroically speaking truth to power, even when that look of the OG is unflattering? What if I'm the victim of the mediocre? Here's my thing. Here's what I've come up with after some serious reflection. I should be allowed to gripe if something blows. I feel like my swearing thing is a legitimate beef. Should I not care that something sacred is being ransacked in front of me? Sorry, good people, but I do. I care. Maybe that's my problem, because swearing is just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm just going to say it right now, and I know it won't help my case, but honestly, I put a lot of this blame on you new people. You guys need to pick it up. I think a lot of the new stuff right now, and I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. I think a lot of the new stuff right now kind of sucks. I love you guys. I see your hustle, but I'm sorry. Mediocre at best. I mean, there are some bright spots. The lingo can be very entertaining. I was with my son over Christmas break, and we walked into a restaurant that smelled like weed, and he said, "Ooh, it's loud in here." Love that. Okay, I love that. More of that. But the fashion, the hairstyles, the music, the swearing, just miss after miss after miss. See? You guys are making me sound old. And man, I mean, I want to love your new stuff. I'm kind of tired of our old stuff. I was just hoping we'd get some better stuff. It's your turn. Did you know that? I'm cheering for you. Let's go. We all win if you can pull this off. I know you can do it. Free up some time. Try quitting selfies. There's a start for you. Think of the time that will free up. If you're curious whether or not you looked ridiculous taking that last selfie, let me help you with that. You did. You did, and the people like me around you, we're paying attention. I'm hopeful that something or someone talented, another Taylor Swift or somebody, will break free here. But honestly, until then, I feel like maybe we're in a period of blah. Like maybe will be known as a crappy decade. I don't know. I mean, it started with a pandemic, right? Is there a different way to object so I don't sound, so I sound less like an elderly man? Probably. Obviously, that's lost on me too. You've probably already come up with the very reasonable solution to just stop griping. To that, I would say, good God, man. I've already given up swearing. How far is this going to go? Am I prematurely turning into an old man who's upset with almost everything? Or am I a regular 56-year-old dude who's surrounded by a lot of stuff that sucks right now? Like I said, I'm leaning towards no. It's not me. It's you clowns. And you know who you are. But here's what haunts me from getting comfortable with that position. And then I'll stop. It's a conversation I had with my wife's grandfather. His name was Tom. And he was 92. And because he was an actual old man who was upset with almost everything, he's my standard of reference. He's what I'm comparing myself to. He was a wonderful guy and my all-time favorite curmudgeon. He is no longer with us. R.I.P. Tom. But we'd talk every 2 or 3 weeks, and I loved my conversations with him. He employed what we referred to at my old job as NBC, near brutal candor. You always knew where you stood with Tom. My brother-in-law once wore a baseball hat inside. Tom nearly had a stroke. He was old school. And as good as our conversations were, he was in his 90s and he was upset with just about everything. So inevitably, part of that conversation was reserved for griping. He'd gripe about how customer service is dead, how Obama secretly hated America and was trying to destroy it. And I can tell you, he was one of the pioneer gripers regarding excessive swearing, which I foolishly dismissed. I was wrong. He told me once that I swore too much. Once. I never swore after that. Tom was a man to be taken seriously. And normally, I would just kind of tune out the griping part of the conversation, but I specifically remember dismissing Tom as an angry old man during this conversation. I remember thinking, Tom, you're just an old guy who's out of touch. You just don't get it. Life is good. That's my fear. That's the haunting part. Is anybody thinking that about me when I'm griping? I remember that conversation because I was in the best mood. We were leaving the next morning for spring break. And when the kids were little, best week of the year. A bunch of families from our neighborhood. We'd all rent houses at this place in Florida called Rosemary Beach. We did it for like 6 or 7 years straight. It's changed now, but it used to be paradise for young families. Where am I going with this? Stay with me. Getting to Rosemary Beach from Atlanta, Absolute nightmare. Until GPS. And we had just bought a car with GPS built in. And I remember listening to Tom griping and thinking, man, not only do we have GPS, we have a minivan. We had finally given up trying to look cool and went from an SUV to a minivan. We had 3 kids. All 3 kids were in some form of car seat. So when we bought a Honda Odyssey minivan, I remember standing on my front porch and hitting a button on the remote and watching the door open and my daughter crawl inside and get into her own car seat. I almost cried. Plus, with GPS, I no longer had to pay attention to directions. And that has value for somebody with ADHD, real value. I no longer had to worry about what part of Alabama we were going to be stuck in for 3 or 4 hours. Think about this. There was once a time in car travel when printed directions with good landmarks were coveted. Those were dark days. I had blue chip directions, but I lived in fear of missing a turn. Never again. Now I had GPS. Life was good. And Tom was just plain missing it. Tom was an old dude who was out of touch. So right now, I'm a little scared I'm Tom. Because I'm sure there's some annoying young dad who's just planned his entire spring break in 4 minutes using AI, and he's probably shaking his head, listening to me gripe, and thinking I'm old and out of touch. That's what keeps me up. If you're concerned, don't be. My wife is monitoring this situation very closely. I just feel like I should give you a heads up and let you know that I'm aware of the problem and that it's under consideration. If you can't tell or didn't already know, I'm a Midwest boy through and through. I'm very proud to be born and raised in Elgin, Illinois. Being more specific, I'm a Larkin Royal, not an Elgin Maroon. What's a maroon? It's a color. Elgin's a western suburb of Chicago, blue collar, diverse, salt of the earth people. I had a fantastic childhood in Elgin, and I love going back. Went to college at Purdue University in West Lafayette, and after I graduated, I headed south to Atlanta, Georgia, where I've lived for 32 years. As they say in the South, often, I outkicked my coverage with my wife. She is the best of us, and I mean that. She is a good person. She's larger than life. In fact, most people know me as her husband. When somebody's having difficulty placing me, especially in Michigan, I'll mention that I'm Courtney's husband, and they will light up, and then they will tell me how wonderful she is, and I agree. She manages our family. She manages the OG when he makes an appearance. It's wonderful to live with her. She runs a tight ship, a clean ship. Here's a story. She bought, when we moved in together, she bought white bath mats. And I was like, are you nuts? Those are going to get dirty so quick. It'll be gross. We need to take them back and get some darker ones. And she's like, what? And I said, we'll be able to see it when they get dirty. And she's like, I want to see it when it gets dirty so I can wash them. Whoa. That was kind of high level living there okay. It gets crazier. She's the only one of us not addicted to electronics, which is kind of annoying because she's also very good at electronics. And sometimes I have to ask her for tech help so that I can get back on my electronics. I wish she was less judgy on legitimate stuff like my addiction to electronics and more judgy on petty stuff. so that we could be petty together. Right now, I have to be petty alone. That's the downside of having a partner that's a good person. Just kidding. I'm never petty alone. I have friends for that. She doesn't like it when I say something about it, but she's also very easy on the eyes. Yes, sir. And dang it, she's fun. I'm hopeful she'll join us here on the show eventually. It's going to take some convincing, so we'll see. But she's got some funny stories. Speaking of kids, I am a lucky guy. I've got 3 of them, 2 boys and a girl, all happy, all healthy, knock on wood. My boys are now young men. Both of them are at Indiana University. My oldest is a senior and studying to be an architect. He'll go to University of Washington in the fall and to study architecture. And my middle guy is a freshman and wants to be a doctor. They're both over the moon with the football program right now, and I don't blame them. So congratulations to the Hoosiers. What a great story. And honestly, you couldn't find a nicer group of people in the country than the Hoosier Nation. And I know, as a Purdue alumni, I'm not supposed to say that, but it's true. And I love it. I love it when somebody that talks trash backs it up. There are so many empty trash talkers out there that when somebody who says, I win, Google me, and then wins, I'm here for that. So I love Kurt Cignetti. He's the Big Ten's version of the old ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Very excited to see what he does. So I'm happy for them, and I'm glad they're getting their time in the sun. My daughter is the youngest. She's a junior at Midtown High School here in Atlanta, and she is now getting the full attention of both her parents, and she's very happy about that. I'm actually just kidding. In our little trio, she kind of rules the roost, so we're having fun. When she's not too wiped out from sports, she walks her dog with me at night. We have great talks, so it's really going to be weird when she leaves. And oh my gosh, speaking of, here she is. This is my girl. This is Olive. That was her in the intro. She's my little buddy. She's a 10-year-old yellow lab. Oh my gosh, she's just a happy, goofy dog. She smiles a lot. It's a goofball smile. Makes her ears go straight out. I've never seen anything like it. I watched that JFK Jr. series and was bawling at the end in the funeral scene, and she got up and she came over to me and nudged me to comfort me. What a sweetie. She's getting old for a Labrador. I'm making it a point to be as present with her as much as possible. I just wish those guys lived longer, you know? Okay, well, I should probably get this item out of the way. I've been lying to you. Kind of. Parker Duque is not my real name. Shocker. It's a pen name, a nom de plume. It was my wife's idea, and by idea, I mean absolute requirement. In fact, let me hit pause, and I'll give you the quick backstory of my book, emphasis on quick. I wrote Progress, a sophomore case for optimism, a long, long time ago, probably 17, 18 years ago. I would not write the same book today. I am much, much more mature now, and I almost mean that. I finished writing the book after we had our third kid, and at the time, you needed an agent to get anything published. And to get an agent, you really had to do a lot of self-promoting, which I just didn't have in me. Plus, I had to work. We had 3 kids. So I put the book on hold. I didn't forget about it. It was always there in the back of my mind, especially when publishing became self-publishing. The issue was I just didn't have the time. I was still super busy with work and family. Then the pandemic hit. And within 2 weeks, I had all the time in the world. So I dusted it off, did another quick edit, And I was just tickled pink with how funny it was. I wanted to make sure, so I sent it to my buddy Rusty just to check, and he loved it. So much so that it inspired me to finish the drill. And I eventually self-published in 2021. And as kind of a funny aside, in return for his kindness, I've been letting Rusty think that he's a faster skier than me, which I know seems silly to mature people like you and me, but it's important to him. So I figure, why not? I give and I give and I give. I don't mind. It's a win-win. Rusty hosts a ski trip, so it's a small price to pay. Although I will say, nothing's perfect. Since he lives close to the ski area and kind of close to where we finish up at the end of the day, he makes us walk all the way back to his place. Yeah. BS. Sorry, that will happen occasionally. Getting back to the story, Rusty told me he loved it, but I had way too many F-bombs in there, and he was right. And you guys know how serious I take my swearing. So I individually reviewed every single F-bomb in that book, and if it's still in there, it was deemed absolutely necessary to the story. So I went from like 200 F-bombs to a skinny 146. That's why on the cover, there's a bomb in the toilet, and the bomb says F-146. That's how you know there's 146 F-bombs in the book. It's like a little Taylor Swift Easter egg there for you. So after taking Rusty's comments into consideration, I did another edit. Kind of felt like I had it in good shape, at least good enough shape for my wife to read it. And I remember she looked so cute. She had just taken a shower and looked all fresh, sitting crisscross applesauce on our bed with a little stack of paper in front of her. I left her alone to start reading, but I was very excited, and within 5 minutes, I'd made an excuse so that I could walk through our bedroom. I tried to be cool in the walkthrough, but from the corner of my eye, it looked like her mouth was agape. But I couldn't tell. So when I walked back through, I looked straight at her. Her mouth was agape. Turns out she was speechless, but not for long. She was actually incredulous. She said, "Did you ever think that your parents or your children would read this someday?" My chest went white hot because nope, I didn't. Not once. I wrote it for me, and my friends. I mean, if I were to dream, maybe Tom Robbins or Christopher Moore, heroes of mine, they might read it. But I never once thought about my family reading it, not once. Before I could even panic, she had a solution, disguised as a demand. She said, "I don't want this associated with our family. You need to release this under a pen name." Listen, yes, and more yes. Do not threaten me with an easy solution. To me, that was a fantastic solution. Yes. Up until Rusty went bonkers over it, I was struggling with even putting it out there in the first place. So I was very, very comfortable with the idea of hiding behind a pen name. And the name I would use is a no-brainer. The main character of the book, Parker Duque, that's me. While all the crazy story and goofy characters are obvious fiction, a lot of what Parker is and does and everywhere he goes is me. You'll see that in this podcast. Boom. Dunzo. And yes, I'm still very, very comfortable hiding behind a pen name. So I think I'll keep doing it. I also added sophomoric to the title of the book, just to warn folks. Okay, the other thing I wanted to get out of the way real quick because it might already be annoying is my repeated references to honesty and being honest. That's a big thing with me right now. Or has been for a while. It's actually one of the life lessons I was referring to when I said I learned a couple lessons way too late. Kind of embarrassing how late I learned it because it's not a complicated lesson. And I feel like most people already know it. But after I figured it out, my life has been so much easier. If I'm being mysterious, sorry. The long and short of it is, I've discovered, again, very late, that if you want to make the best decisions for yourself, you have to be honest with yourself, brutally honest with yourself in regards to who you really are, meaning understanding the person the decision is being made for. Because everybody has an idea of who they think they are in their own mind, and then there's who they really are. And the bigger that gap, the worse the decision making. I can think of a bunch of entertaining examples, although it's probably a little less mean if I use myself as an example, and I'm cool with that. I used to think of myself as an outdoorsy guy, and I am outdoorsy. I just wasn't honest with myself about the kind of outdoorsy I was. And I was making bad decisions because of it. If one of my friends said, hey, let's go camping, I was like, yeah, I'm outdoorsy. That's what I should be doing. I'll go. And we'd go camping. And we'd always have fun because we were young. We could have fun in a morgue. But was I happy while I was camping? The answer is no. The first night, it's always great. You're still clean. You get to set up your gear. You're excited to hang with your friends. Awesome, right? Rest of the trip, for me, miserable. And instead of being honest with myself and stop camping, I chased the idea that camping was what outdoorsy guys like me did for fun. My guess was I just needed more gear, to make the camping easier. Which is awesome, because I love gear. It's hard for me to drive past an REI. I feel a strange pull. It's a happy place for me. But it didn't matter how much gear I bought. Do you want to know why? Because I wasn't being honest with myself. Yeah. Turns out I love sleeping indoors. I love bathrooms. I love beds, comforters. I love sheets. They don't even have to have a thread count or anything fancy like that. Kind of picky about pillows. Love me a good memory foam pillow. Ladies and gentlemen, I love heating and air conditioning. Doesn't mean I'm soft, although I'll admit I have become kind of soft. I can still do some tough things if I need to, but I don't want to sleep outdoors. I love being outdoors. I just don't want to stay there. I want to come back in. I don't want to wake up wet. When you go camping and you wake up, everything's wet. And you're greasy, which is gross. And everybody else is greasy too, which makes it even grosser. And there's no showers in sight for anybody. And let's not even talk about the bathroom situation. And I've never slept on an inflatable mattress where some part of my body wasn't touching the ground by 4:30 in the morning. I'm 200 pounds. That's nothing. What do the big campers do? I love hiking. I love building stuff outdoors. I love drinking outdoors. I love skiing with my buddies. Just want to come back inside afterwards. And you know what? just being honest with myself, acknowledging my limits, knowing that what I am not is every bit as important as what I am, has made a huge difference. And a crazy thing happens. The more honest I became with myself, the more comfortable I got with the embarrassing parts. And then after a while, they weren't embarrassing anymore. Like, I'll tell you right now, I have no problem admitting I am a part-time moron. I'm prone to sporadic bouts of moronic impulses, which you probably already know is very common for guys. I've come to terms with it. It's kind of how I pick my friends. And that's why I have a lot of good stories. Well, I've got good news and bad news. And me personally, I've always preferred to hear the bad news first. So here it goes. The bad news is I have to go. I've overstayed my welcome. My wife said these episodes are only supposed to be a half an hour. My first episode turned out to be an hour and a half. A little windy. I guess I kind of went off script here and there, and if you know me, you know that can happen. But because of that, I had to cut my story about the Ricky the Raccoon relocation project. The good news is we're done with all the boring setup. Now it's just the funny stuff. And if you listen to the next episode, episode 1B, which has also been posted and is up now, you can hear my story about a giant, dirty raccoon named Ricky and get the feel for the flavor of what we're doing here, the vibe. So thanks for listening and watching the show. This is it for episode 1A. Please, please, please listen to the next episode and tell your friends. I'm terrible at promoting. I need your help. Please send them a link if you can. Nobody can remember how to spell Duque. It's D-U-Q-U-E. If you want to contact the show, we're here at parkerduque@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff. You know what you can't stop? Progress.